When I was younger, around 16 years old, I remember one of the first things I wanted to do was simply gain weight. And so I had this 200-pound dream. I feel every guy has probably had this, but being 200 pounds shows that you are, more masculine, you have enough weight on yourself to where you can defend yourself. And even nowadays, I hear that under 200 pounds is quote unquote victim weight, right? So I had this 200-pound dream and I was bulking. I was eating food like crazy. This is back when I was doing my gallon of milk a day sort of challenge, which I've talked about before, which actually went horribly. But I was slowly gaining weight. And then I got up to, at the time, it had to have been around 150 pounds maybe, because I started maybe at like 135. And I was looking at my body. I was like, why do I look like this at 150 pounds? Like, there's no way I can add in another 50 pounds of muscle, especially. It's going to be mostly fat. And that's when I came to the realization of there are actually different body types and different skeletal frame structures. And some people just aren't necessarily capable of being 200 pounds lean. It is what it is. But social media will tell you and make you think otherwise, because everybody seems to be, 190, 220, 240, 205, while lean, also at my height. And I know you guys don't believe me, but I'm actually 5'10" and a half, between 5'10", 5'11", flat foot. So I'm basically 6 foot, which with shoes on, basically 6'1". But let's go back to small types. I believe what this is your propensity and genetic capability to put on weight, put on muscle. Also, it encompasses your skeletal frame. Ectomorphs have skinnier bone structures. I have tiny ass wrists. I have tiny ass ankles. I have narrow clavicles. My bone structure is that of a skinny person. It doesn't matter how much weight I gain. Luckily, I do have more full muscle belly. So if I do get really jacked, it kind of just looks like muscle compounded upon one another. It kind of looks weird. And that's when I realized too that getting to a heavyweight like 180 plus really doesn't even look that great on me. It looks like I'm just kind of stacking muscle on a skinnier and a smaller frame. Now with Samoa types, we also have the endomorph. This is somebody who naturally tends to gain weight. And this kid or person probably has been quote unquote the chubby kid most of their lives until they locked into their diet. And then we got the mesomorph. Now the mesomorph is interesting. This is somebody who naturally puts on muscle relatively fast. They have an athletic bone structure and frame. I believe these people too have genetic advantages like myostatin deficiencies. They're natural athletes. These were the kids in high school and middle school who naturally had those six-pack abs, or maybe they just worked out a few times out of the week and they look super jacked. These kids were probably athletes, were probably on the wrestling team. Now, the argument about Samoa types is the fact that you could be any one Samoa type at any given time based on your habits, your diet, and lifestyle. But still, that doesn't explain why some people are naturally tend to hold weight faster and the ones who naturally have a skinnier bone structure or who naturally tend to burn more calories throughout the day. Why am I at 5'10" having to bulk on 4,000 calories a day when somebody else with a different frame, a different bone structure, still the same height, maybe slightly different muscle insertions, could bulk given the same activity amount on about 3,000 to 3,200 calories per day? I believe a lot of it ties into genetics. Also, if we take a look at the discipline that each Samoa type tends to be good at, you'll notice that endomorphs usually are powerlifters. Mesomorphs are usually a combination of anything they want to be, or actually bodybuilders, professional bodybuilding. And ectomorphs tend to be more track athletes or endurance-based athletes. I've been told this multiple times, but I am built like I run the 400 meter. I have a track body. Some may also call it the standard black man body, where I got a short torso, long legs, I got a high butt, and then also long hamstrings. And this makes me really good at running. I've always been great and amazing at running my whole entire life. I remember in elementary school, we would have these PT tests. I will always either come first or second my whole entire life with no practice. I didn't run or anything. I just went to recess and I played some sports, but I was always the best. But also, let's talk about pull-ups. You guys know that I can pull really heavy weight. I don't think it's necessarily because of my training, though I have focused a lot on pull-ups, but also I find in due part of my genetics also. My shorter arms, my shorter torso, my longer bicep insertions and tendons, all this stuff combined allows me to be really good at pull-ups. So even though I call it the ectomorph curse, I have found that depending on your Samoa type, This allows you to be good at certain disciplines. We can also reference this with the swimmer's body. Swimmers tend to have naturally long clavicles, naturally larger wingspans, and they're also tall. And this leads to the question, are they swimmers because of their body, or are they swimmers because they just enjoy swimming? I argue that people in professional sports are in that sport due to their genetics, to their bones. And that's something that you necessarily can't change, but something that you can find based on your given structure and genetics. So this leads me to question, am I still capable of reaching 200 pounds? I don't think I will ever reach 200 pounds, honestly. I've never been above 180. And I truly think in order for me to get to that level of being 200 pounds lean, I would legit have to take steroids. I would have to. There's literally no other way. Sure, I can bulk and gain marginal amounts of muscle mass and everything's optimized, but even then, I couldn't see myself being above 180, 185 lean. So why, once again, am I not capable of being 200 pounds, but other people are? Naturally. Once again, bone structure, bones. I have a light skeletal frame. Having a light ectomorphic skeletal frame also allows you to be really good at bodyweight training. You guys think it was an accident that I was able to learn calisthenics so fast, that I was able to progress a lot faster than other people who might have been taller, who might have been more endomorphic or mesomorphic in some cases? No, my skeletal frame, my bone structure, the way my proportions are, allowed me to leverage the fact that I could learn calisthenics really, really fast in terms of static skills, in terms of, pull-ups and all these other different skills. And you'll see this across the calisthenics community too. The people who are doing crazy advanced skills, how tall are they? They're at least 5'6", 5'7". They're ectomorphs, light bone structures, skinny wrists. You never see somebody who's absolutely super tall and jacked doing 2-finger planches. You might see them doing some basic sort of calisthenics skill like a front lever, maybe a human flag, and definitely weighted calisthenics. But outside of that, you rarely, if ever, see super advanced skills through certain people. And that's where we have to accept our genetic limits. And I think at this point in time, I've accepted my genetic limit in terms of getting to that 200 pounds and even doing some really advanced calisthenic skills. Now, one thing that you guys have seen me work on and that I'm actively working on now is the one-arm handstand. I had a lot of limiting beliefs over the one-arm handstand, thinking that my bone structure, my mobility, my flexibility, even my hand size, because I have small hands, will not allow me to personally learn the one-arm handstand. But I told myself I've actually never really tried. And so I made a commitment to myself. I will give myself around 2 years to train the handstand, one-arm handstand, 5 days a week, 3 to 5 days a week, depending on my recovery, and see how it goes. If after 2 years, I've made very little, if any, progress, then that tells me I'm probably not in the realm to genetically be capable of a one-arm handstand. I've seen plenty of people too, calisthenics pros, guys on YouTube, who still can't do a full planche, who still can't do a full front lever. Is it their fault? Is it their training system? Or is it their genetics? That's something we got to ask ourselves. Up next, I want to talk about the pros and cons of just overall being an ectomorph. I've already spoken about some pros as, learning calisthenics. I also find that ectomorphs tend to have this aesthetic and athletic sort of look to them naturally, especially once they get to like a 24, 25, 26 BMI and they're lean. People will think you more so play sports. Like, I always get told that I kind of look like maybe a cornerback or a safety, but never a linebacker, never a quarterback even, or defensive line or offensive line, obviously. And then also, you can eat more. I had the privilege of being able to literally eat almost whatever I want in a caloric range, because I know with my activity level, with me getting my steps in daily, I have to eat so much to get above, I would say, 13% body fat. Like, literally getting above 13% body fat is a challenge. Keep in mind, there are also some cons associated with being an ectomorph. The first one is that you're going to be small in clothes. No matter how much you lift, no matter what you do, you will always look smaller in clothes. This is mostly due to your bone structure. Doesn't matter if you wear a fitted shirt. In some cases, if you wear a tank top or a wife beater or a stringer, this is probably the quote unquote biggest you will ever look, especially if you're lean. But if it's wintered or you're layered up, or if you're just wearing a normal t-shirt, you literally look like you don't lift, because even your forearms are tiny. I mean, my forearms are decent, but the wrist size compared to like the forearm size and just the clavicles, the shoulder, the bone structure, just overall makes you look small. And then also, Because your frame is smaller, you might have more of a fragile frame. I hurt my ankle boxing because I twisted it, but that's not the first time I twisted my ankle. My ankles are so fragile that if I even drop too high from a height, or I jump wrong, or one time I did a backflip and I came down the wrong way and I hurt my ankle. Like, I have a fragile bone structure. It is easily broken. Definitely in comparison to other people with more robust bone structures like powerlifters or endomorph sort of people. Even when I was playing football when I was like 12 years old, I vividly remember I had to stop after playing for around 3-4 years because I fell and my collarbone like shifted and I was wearing pads and everything. And then also you're probably going to have some degree of body dysmorphia. I think just due to social media, the promotion of all these crazy 200 plus pound physiques, and some of these people are actually natural too. For example, Simeon Panda. We can argue his natty status, whether he's been natural lifetime, I don't know, but I do believe he might be natural now. And the reason why I believe it is because look at his frame. This dude is tall and wide. Like, he has the bone structure to be able to hold that amount of muscle. People used to tell me that I look like the smaller version of Simeon Panda. And I will always forever be that smaller version because of my frame, you know. And there's also a muscle limit in terms of how much muscle your frame can actually hold. And I think getting beyond a point of, let's say, 190, 200 pounds is actually not healthy at all. So though I am an ectomorph, I have fully embraced it at this point in time. I try to make use of what I can and leverage my advantages. And keep in mind, all you guys have advantages right now. Look at yourself in the mirror. You can see what type of frame and bone structure you personally have, and then you can leverage that into different sports, into different careers, into multiple different things that allow you to naturally be good based on your genetic capabilities. So you just have to figure that out. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe, like, and I'm gonna see you guys next week. Peace.